I bought that lake house to escape noise, not to find new kinds of it. It was supposed to be my quiet place, a patch of water and pine where even my thoughts spoke softly. That night, I drove there with wine, takeout, and the kind of exhaustion that lives in your bones. The porch light was on. Music pulsed through the windows. 3 cars were parked where mine should be. Inside, laughter and perfume hit me like smoke. My sister, Madison, stood in the kitchen with her boyfriend and friends, holding a drink like she owned the place. When she saw me, her smile twisted. "Why is this stupid Leech here? Get out!" she shouted. Everyone stared, waiting for me to explode. But I just smiled, placed my keys on the counter, and said quietly, "Okay." Then I walked out already knowing I wouldn't forgive, and that what came next would ruin her comfort forever. My name is Olivia Carter, 34 years old, a senior dental hygienist who somehow became the unofficial office manager when my boss's marriage collapsed. For the past 2 months, I'd been living on caffeine and polite smiles, cleaning teeth by day, crunching invoices by night. My hands ached, my eyes burned, and the only thing that kept me from snapping was the thought of my lake house, my sanctuary. That night, I'd packed a bag with a book, a bottle of red wine, and enough groceries for a lazy weekend. The drive from Seattle took 40 minutes, the kind of drive that usually melts tension, but the second I turned onto the gravel road and saw the porch light blazing, the spell broke. When I opened the door, laughter spilled out. The kind that's too loud, too fake. Perfume, alcohol, and music swirled together like poison. My sister Madison, 28, beautiful, spoiled, always performing, was leaning against the kitchen counter in my sweatshirt. My sweatshirt. Her boyfriend Tyler had his arm around her waist. Their friends sprawled across my furniture like it belonged to them. "Olivia?" Madison's tone dripped disbelief, as if I'd trespassed. I forced a small smile. "Yeah, surprise. What's going on here?" Her grin sharpened. "We're just having a little get-together. You weren't using the place. This isn't a public cabin," I said, trying to stay calm. "You could have asked." She tilted her head, pretending to think. "We have a key. Mom said we could come whenever." "You still should have told me." The music stopped. 10 pairs of eyes turned to us. Madison's expression changed, like she wanted an audience. "God, why are you always like this?" she snapped. "You hoard everything, money, peace, attention." Her voice rose. "Why is this stupid Leech here? Get out." For a second, the room spun. I saw the empty bottles on my counter, the muddy shoes on my rug, my favorite throw blanket crumpled under someone's feet. My throat burned, but I wouldn't give her the satisfaction of seeing me break. So I smiled. "Okay," I said softly. "You win." Madison blinked. "Wait, really?" I nodded, walked to the door, and paused just long enough to meet her eyes. "Enjoy it while you can." The drive back to the city felt colder. Every mile tightened something in my chest. She'd used my home, my trust, and then called me a leech as if she hadn't lived off my help for years. By the time I reached my apartment, I'd stopped shaking. My anger had calcified into something sharper, quieter, and far more dangerous. I wasn't going to yell. I wasn't going to beg. I was going to take everything back. And Madison had no idea what that meant yet. When I got home that night, I didn't cry. I just stood in the kitchen with my coat still on, staring at the bottle of wine I never opened. The apartment was quiet except for the hum of the fridge, too quiet. I made tea, but my hands were trembling, not from sadness, but from the kind of fury that feels surgical, cold, precise, waiting for incision. On the table sat my laptop. I opened my budgeting app, the one I used to track every penny of my overworked life. Then, I started scrolling through years of transactions, and every line was another scar. $2,000 tuition fees for Madison's last semester before she took a break that turned permanent. $600 first month's rent when she moved in with Tyler and forgot her paycheck was delayed. $350 groceries when she claimed her fridge broke. $1,200 camera equipment for her blogging career. $2,400 payments toward her car after she crashed the old one and somehow convinced Dad it was my fault for not co-signing earlier. $500 here, $300 there, every month like clockwork. I kept scrolling until the total reached nearly $15,000. $15,000. And not once had she said thank you without rolling her eyes halfway through. And yet, I was the leech. I laughed quiet, ugly laughter that made the teacup rattle. When the laughter stopped, I grabbed my phone and texted Mom. Olivia, did you give Madison a key to the lake house? Mom, honey, yes. She said you wouldn't mind. You're always working. Olivia, she threw me out of my own house. Mom, oh, sweetie, I'm sure she didn't mean it. You know how she gets when she drinks. Olivia, she had 10 people there, Mom. They trashed the place. Mom, then don't go this weekend. Let her finish the party, and I'll talk to her. Let her finish the party. The words hit harder than Madison's insult. It wasn't new, though Mom had always protected Madison's chaos and told me to be the understanding one. I stared at the text until the letters blurred. Then I typed, Olivia, don't worry, I'm done talking. I locked the screen and sat back. For a long time, I just breathed and let my mind sharpen around the decision forming in it. Madison thought she owned me, my house, my patience, my money. She thought I'd keep giving forever because I hated conflict. But she forgot that silence isn't surrender, it's calculation. I opened a new tab, locksmith near Mason County. Then another, county property authorization for no trespass. And another, attorney, personal property and harassment. My heartbeat slowed as each search result appeared. The plan wasn't about revenge, not really. It was about balance. I'd been the safety net too long. It was time to fold it up and let her feel what the fall actually feels like. Before bed, I wrote one sentence on a sticky note and pressed it to my mirror. Stop rescuing the people who set your house on fire. I looked at my reflection, tired and still trembling, but smiling just a little. Tomorrow, I'd start cleaning up the mess, starting with Madison's access to my life. By sunrise, the anger wasn't hot anymore. It had cooled into something sharper, steel, cold, and calm. I showered, tied my hair up, and dressed like I was going to war in business casual armor. First stop, Peninsula Locks and Keys, the tiny shop off Route 9 where they still cut brass by hand. Vacation property? The locksmith asked. He was an older man named Ralph, with fingers stained from years of metal dust. Something like that, I said. I need every lock replaced. Deadbolts, padlocks, windows, everything. He scribbled notes on a clipboard. You want duplicates? I smiled. Just one. Mine. By 10 a.m., I was driving to Mason County, with Ralph's van following behind. The closer we got to the lake, the quieter the world became, like it knew something was about to change. When we pulled into the drive, the air still smelled like beer and cheap perfume. Empty bottles glittered near the porch. My doormat was flipped upside down, soaked with rain and sticky alcohol. I stepped over it. Ralph got to work while I moved through the house like a ghost. Every corner whispered evidence of last night's trespass. The faint scuff of a high heel on the wood floor, lipstick on a glass, ashes in my sink. My sanctuary felt violated, and I could feel my pulse in my throat. Locks are swapped, Ralph said finally. Want to test the code? I pressed the new keypad numbers, heard the satisfying click. Perfect. After paying him, I sat on the porch steps and opened my laptop. My fingers didn't hesitate. To Madison. Mom. Dad. Subject. Access revoked. Hi everyone. Effective immediately, the lake house is no longer open for shared use. All keys are void. The property belongs solely to me. Madison, after last night's behavior, I'm drawing a clear boundary. You're not welcome on the premises. Do not enter or send anyone there. Mom, Dad, please respect this decision. I need peace more than politeness. Olivia. I reread it twice, removed every trace of emotion, and hit send. 10 minutes later, the phone buzzed. Mom, honey, this isn't necessary. She said she's sorry. Olivia. No, she isn't. Dad. Olivia, let's talk about this first. You're making things worse. Olivia. I'm making things clear. Then, finally, Madison. Madison. You're unbelievable. You act like you're some saint. Everyone knows you're just bitter because you're alone. I stared at her message and felt nothing. It was freeing, that emptiness. At noon, I drove to the county office. The clerk recognized me small-town perks. "Want to renew your property file?" she asked. "Not just that," I said. "I'd like to file a no trespass authorization for the address." Her eyebrows lifted. "Family trouble?" "Something like that." She nodded like she understood more than she said. "Good for you." By the time I left, the paperwork was done. The sheriff's office would enforce it if anyone stepped foot on my property without permission. Back in Seattle, I made one final stop: my bank. I sat with a banker named Carla, a woman with kind eyes and perfectly straight bangs. "I need to remove an authorized user from my account," I said. She clicked her keyboard. "Name?" "Madison Carter." Carla looked up. "Family?" "Once upon a time," I said. The removal took 5 minutes. 5 minutes to end. 5 years of unspoken expectation. Walking out of the bank, I felt lighter, like I'd finally set down a weight I didn't realize I'd been carrying. That evening, I poured the wine I'd meant to drink at the lake. It tasted better than I remembered. Madison thought she'd humiliated me that night. But what she didn't understand was that humiliation fades. Boundaries, once drawn, stay sharp. And I had just carved mine deep enough for her to bleed on it. Sunday afternoon, my phone buzzed nonstop. Mom first, then Dad. Each voicemail had the same brittle sweetness parents use when they're about to guilt trip you. "Olivia, honey, we're coming over to talk. Please don't overreact." Overreact. That word always meant stop setting boundaries we don't like. They showed up at 4. Mom carried a Tupperware of lasagna like peace could be baked. Dad followed, shoulders tense, eyes darting between us. And right behind them, of course, was Madison, sunglasses on indoors, her performance face already on. I crossed my arms. "Did you bring the rest of the party too? Or just the main act?" "Cute," Madison muttered, tossing her purse on my couch. Mom set the lasagna down carefully. "Olivia, please, let's not start like this." "You started this," I said, "when you gave her a key without asking me." Mom sighed. "We thought you wouldn't mind. The house just sits there." "Yeah," I said. "It sits there because it's mine." Madison huffed. "God, you make everything dramatic." "It was one night, Olivia. You act like we burned the place down." "You might as well have," I said. "You trashed my house, disrespected me, and screamed in my face. Do you even remember what you said?" She crossed her arms. "I said a lot of things I didn't mean." I picked up my phone, scrolled, and hit play. Her drunken voice filled the apartment. "Why is this stupid Leech here? Get out." Silence. Even Dad looked uncomfortable. Mom tried to smile. "She was drinking. She's sorry." Madison scoffed. "I said I didn't mean it. What else do you want? Blood?" I leaned forward. "I want accountability. I want you to stop using my generosity as your emergency plan. I want you to stop treating me like your personal ATM." Her face tightened. "You make it sound like I never helped you. I watched your cat for a month while you were in Denver." I almost laughed. "You forgot to feed her twice." "Okay, enough," Mom snapped suddenly, surprising both of us. "We are not tearing each other apart over this. Olivia, you've always been so independent, and Madison, well, she's always needed a little more help. That's just how families work." "No," I said quietly. "That's how dysfunction works." Dad rubbed his temples. "Let's calm down. Olivia, what do you want out of this?" I turned to Madison. "I already told you in the email. You're cut off. No more rent payments, no more emergencies. And if you or anyone you know steps on that property, the sheriff will handle it." Madison's jaw dropped. "You wouldn't call the cops on your own sister." I held her gaze. "Try me." For a moment, her bravado cracked. Then she laughed shrill, ugly. "You're pathetic. You love power because you don't have love. That's your whole personality, Liv." I smiled faintly. "If boundaries look like power to you, maybe you've never had any." She grabbed her purse and stormed toward the door. "Enjoy your empty house and empty life. Enjoy eviction," I said before I could stop myself. The door slammed hard enough to rattle the frame. Mom's eyes filled. "Olivia, why do you have to make everything so final? She's your sister." "Because she keeps mistaking kindness for weakness," I said. "And you let her." Dad exhaled heavily, looking older than I remembered. "Maybe we should go," he murmured. After they left, the apartment felt hollow again, but this time, the silence wasn't sad. It was clean. I poured myself a glass of water, watching my reflection tremble on the surface. My pulse still thudded, but under it was something new, peace. The next morning, I woke up early, checked my emails, and saw one from Madison's landlord forwarded to me by mistake. Notice of overdue rent 2 months past due. I stared at it for a long minute, then closed my laptop. This wasn't my problem anymore. And that realization felt better than revenge. It felt like freedom. It took exactly 1 week for the storm to reach me. I'd just finished cleaning a patient's teeth when my phone buzzed on the counter. 21 missed messages, all from Madison. The first one said, "The landlord says the rent didn't go through. Did you forget to send it?" The second, "Hello?" By the fifth, the tone changed. "What the hell, Olivia?" By the 10th, she was in full meltdown. "You can't just cut us off like that. We'll get kicked out." And by the 21st, "You're sick. You need help." I didn't reply. I finished sterilizing my instruments, thanked my next patient, and went home in silence. When I opened my apartment door, my voicemail light blinked. Mom's voice filled the room, sugary and strained. "Olivia, sweetheart, Madison's really struggling right now. You've made your point. Maybe just help with one more payment until she gets back on her feet?" One more payment. The family anthem. Then Dad's voice. "Olivia, your sister called crying. I know she messed up, but you've gotta let this go. You're not a cruel person." I wasn't cruel. I was just done. That night, my phone buzzed again. This time, the messages came in bursts, screenshots, accusations, half-truths, twisted to make me the villain. "Madison, you always hated me. You're jealous because I have a boyfriend. You think money makes you better? Everyone knows you're alone for a reason." Then the final one. "Maybe I should post about how you've been manipulating me for years. People will love that." That one made me pause. 10 minutes later, I was tagged in her Instagram story. A dimly lit photo of her crying, mascara streaked, captioned, "When your own sister destroys your life and calls it boundaries? Number, family betrayal, number toxic love." My DMs filled up with strangers' opinions before midnight. Some told me to apologize. Some called her dramatic. Some told us both to get therapy. I poured myself a glass of wine, watched the screen glow, and realized how badly Madison needed an audience to survive. So I turned off my phone. The next morning, my office receptionist handed me an envelope with a confused look. "It came by courier," she said. Inside, a formal notice of claim. Madison and Tyler were alleging unjust financial withholding, resulting in hardship. In simpler words, they were trying to sue me for stopping their free ride. I laughed so hard the receptionist peeked around the corner. At lunch, I called my attorney, Alyssa Grant, the same woman who'd helped me file the no trespass authorization. She read the letter, snorted softly, and said, "Cute. Don't worry, Olivia. This is noise. Empty threats. But if they post anything defamatory, we'll bury them in cease and desist orders." "Bury sounds nice," I said. That weekend, I went to the lake, alone. The house was quiet again, except for the wind through the pines. The air smelled like wet leaves and clean water. I walked through each room slowly, touching the walls, the counters, the furniture, everything that had been mine before Madison's chaos infected it. On the porch, I opened my laptop and wrote her one final message. To Madison. Subject: responsibility. Actions have consequences. You're learning that now. You can twist the story however you want online, but the truth doesn't change. I helped you for years, and you spat on me the first time I said no. This isn't revenge. This is reality. Catching up. Grow up. Or drown in the mess you made. Your choice. Olivia. I didn't send it. Some lessons are better taught by silence. 2 weeks later, Mom called again. Her voice was tired this time. "Olivia," she said, "your sister and Tyler got evicted. They're moving in with us. Just thought you should know." "Okay," I said. That was all. When I hung up, the quiet of the lake wrapped around me like a blanket. For the first time, It didn't feel empty, it felt earned. Because peace, I realized, isn't always warm. Sometimes it's cold, deliberate, and entirely your own. It had been almost 2 months since Madison's meltdown online. 2 months since she'd been evicted. Since Mom had called to say, "She's moving back in with us just for a while." I didn't ask how that was going. I didn't need to. Every phone call from Mom came laced with fatigue. "She's impossible, Olivia. She complains about everything. She won't clean, she won't look for jobs. She even made your father move the living room furniture because she didn't like how it looked." I'd nod quietly on the phone, whispering the same words every time. "You chose to let her in." By the 3rd week, Mom stopped defending her. By the 5th, she sounded ready to cry. By the 8th, she said it straight. "Olivia, I can't take it anymore." That night, I was halfway through a glass of wine when my phone lit up again. Madison. I hadn't heard from her directly since the eviction. "Olivia," she started, voice soft, practiced. "Listen, I know I said awful things. I was stressed. I wasn't thinking straight." "Madison, wait," she said quickly. "Please. I've been trying to find a place, but it's hard. I just need a break. Maybe a few days at the lake house just to clear my head. Tyler's gone. I'm not bringing anyone, I promise." I could hear the desperation wrapped in honey. It almost worked. Almost. "No," I said. Her silence cracked like glass. "You can't be serious." "I'm always serious now." "God, Olivia. You're pathetic. You get off on this, don't you? Punishing me for being younger, prettier." Click. I hung up before she could finish. For 2 days, nothing. Then, on Friday night, a storm rolled in one of those autumn tempests that turned the lake into black glass and rattled window panes. I decided to drive down early the next morning to check for fallen branches. When I arrived, the first thing I noticed was the porch light. It was on, the same way it had been that night. My heartbeat quickened. I parked quietly and crept up the steps, rain dripping from my hair. The air smelled like smoke. Inside, music played faintly, a low hum. I saw shadows moving across the curtains. She wouldn't. She couldn't. But she had. I unlocked the deadbolt with my code and pushed open the door. The smell of beer, cheap perfume, and cigarette smoke slapped me in the face. And there she was, Madison, barefoot, sitting cross-legged on my couch, a half-empty bottle beside her. The television flickered across her face. When she saw me, she smiled, wild, unhinged. "Hey, Liv! Missed this place, didn't you?" My voice shook. "How did you get in?" "You didn't change the code on the back door." "I did change it," she giggled. "Guess your handyman messed up." I looked around. My plants were knocked over. My blanket lay on the floor, soaked with wine. Every nerve in my body screamed. "You need to leave," I said. She rolled her eyes. "Relax. I just wanted to feel normal for a night." "God, you act like I murdered someone." "You broke in." I came home. That word home set something off in me. "This isn't your home, Madison. It never was. You used me, you stole from me, and when I finally said no, you threw me out of my own house." Her smile vanished. "You're so dramatic." I stepped closer. "Get out." "Or what?" she hissed. "You'll call the cops on your own sister again? Do it, Liv. I dare you." I didn't answer. I pulled my phone from my pocket, thumb hovering over the sheriff's number. She laughed until I hit call. "Hi," I said steadily, my voice cold as the rain outside. "This is Olivia Carter. I need a deputy at my property immediately. There's an intruder in my home." Madison's smirk faltered. "You're bluffing." The dispatcher's voice crackled through. "Units on the way, ma'am." We stared at each other, the air thick with old hate and blood-deep sadness. Her lip trembled. "You really did it?" "Yeah," I said quietly. "I really did." 15 minutes later, red and blue lights cut through the rain. The deputy, same one from last time, stepped inside, shining his flashlight. "Miss Carter?" I nodded. "She doesn't live here." Madison stood frozen, mascara streaking down her cheeks. "She's my sister." The deputy's tone didn't soften. "Doesn't matter. You're trespassing." He guided her outside, letting her grab her shoes. She looked back once, eyes glassy with disbelief. You really hate me, don't you? No, I said, voice breaking just a little. I just finally love myself enough not to let you destroy me. The door shut behind her. Rain hammered the roof like applause from the universe itself. When the deputies left, I walked through the house slowly, turning off the lights one by one. The silence afterward was deafening, but it wasn't empty, it was sacred. I sank onto the couch, looked at the broken bottle on the floor, and whispered to no one. You can't fix people by letting them burn your walls. Outside, the storm was fading, leaving behind a washed, glimmering lake. Inside, for the first time in years, I felt completely safe. For the first time in months, I slept through the night. No nightmares, no phantom music from the lake house, no memories of Madison's voice slicing through my calm. Just rain on the windows and the quiet hum of peace I'd earned. The next morning, I called my parents. I told them what had happened, every detail. Mom gasped. She what? She broke in? Yes, I said flatly. The sheriff came. She's fine, but she's not coming back. For a long time, there was only silence on the other end of the line. Then Mom whispered, I'm so sorry, Olivia. Those words, I'd waited my whole life to hear them, and when they finally came, they didn't make me angry. They just made me tired. She needs help, I said softly. I know, Mom replied. But she doesn't think she does. 2 weeks passed before I heard from Madison again. Not directly through Mom, as always. She's staying with a friend now, Mom said one evening. She's quiet, lost weight, says she doesn't know what to do next. She'll figure it out, I said. But even as I said it, I felt something twist inside me, not pity exactly, but the ghost of old love. I tried to move on. I focused on work, on my patience, on rebuilding the rhythm of my own life. I ran by the lake in the mornings, took a pottery class on weekends, even started smiling at strangers again. Then, one evening, there was a knock on my apartment door. When I opened it, Mom stood there, raincoat still dripping, eyes rimmed red. Can I come in? She sat at my kitchen table, wringing her hands. Your sister's not well. She's drinking too much. She lost her job at that cafe. She won't talk to your father, and I don't know what to do. I poured her tea and waited. I know we asked too much of you, she said quietly. We made you the responsible one because it was easy, and when you finally said no, we called it cruelty. That wasn't fair. Her voice cracked. You were right to draw the line. You saved yourself. Maybe that's the only way she'll learn to save herself too. Hearing my mother say that felt like the first real healing I'd had in years. A week later, I got a message from Madison. Madison. I'm not asking for money. I just wanted to say I'm sorry. Madison. You didn't deserve how I treated you. You were the only one who ever showed up, and I bit the hand that fed me. Madison. I'm trying to get sober. I got a job at a diner. It's not glamorous, but it's something. I read it 3 times before replying. Olivia, I appreciate the apology. I want you to do better, not for me but for yourself. But my boundaries stay. She replied with a simple, yeah, I figured. And for the first time, there was no venom in her tone. Just acceptance. Weeks turned into months. Slowly, the noise faded. No more threats, no more pity calls. Madison started attending group therapy. Mom stopped trying to fix everything. Dad and I started meeting for Sunday breakfasts again, like before all the chaos. One Sunday, over pancakes, Dad said something that stuck with me. You know, Liv, he said, we spent years asking you to carry everyone else. You carried this family. You did it so long, we forgot it was heavy. I smiled, stirring my coffee. I finally put it down. He nodded, eyes wet. And we're proud of you for it. That night, I sat by the lake again. The air was cold, still. The reflection of the moon rippled across the water like something breathing. I thought about everything that had happened, every scream, every slammed door, every silent apology. Madison was still out there somewhere, rebuilding, maybe falling again, maybe standing. But it wasn't my job to steady her anymore. For once, I could love her without saving her. And that felt like the truest kind of forgiveness. 6 months passed. Enough time for the air to change, for the lake to freeze and thaw again. Enough time for Madison to stumble, stand, and try. I hadn't seen her in months, but I heard from Mom that she'd kept the diner job. "She's even saving money," Mom said over the phone one night. Can you believe it? I could. Because when life stops cushioning your fall, you finally learn how to land. I spent most weekends at the lake again. The house had become mine in every sense, not just legally but emotionally. I'd repainted the porch, replaced the broken lamp, and planted lavender along the path. The smell of the flowers mingled with pine and water peace had a scent now. One Sunday morning, while I was brewing coffee, I heard tires crunching on the gravel outside. I opened the door, and there she was, Madison. Her hair was tied back, no makeup, a paper bag clutched in her hands. "Hi," she said quietly. "I didn't know if you'd still be here." I'm always here," I replied. She stepped closer, uncertain. "I brought something." She held up the bag. Inside were lemons, bright, imperfect, some still with leaves attached. "For the fridge," she said. It always smelled like lemons in here. I thought maybe it still should. I didn't know what to say. I just nodded, letting her in. We sat on the porch, the lake stretching wide and calm in front of us. For a long time, neither of us spoke. Only the sound of the wind in the trees, the soft hum of insects, and the slow rhythm of water brushing against the dock. Finally, she whispered, "Do you ever feel like the villain of your own story?" I looked at her. "All the time," she nodded slowly. "Me too." "Maybe the trick," I said, "is realizing that sometimes we're just the consequence in someone else's story. And that's okay." Madison let out a breath that sounded half like a laugh, half like a sigh. "I didn't come here to ask for anything. I just wanted you to know I'm trying. And I understand why you did what you did. It hurt, but maybe it needed to." "It did," I said gently. "For both of us." We sat there until the sun began to sink, painting the water gold. Madison stood and brushed off her jeans. "I should go," she said. "Thanks for not slamming the door in my face. Thanks for knocking this time," I said with a smile. She smiled back, small, fragile, but real. "See you around, Liv." "See you, Mads." When her car disappeared up the road, the quiet settled around me again. But it wasn't heavy anymore. It was full. Alive. I walked down to the dock, coffee mug in hand. The air was crisp, the reflection of the sky smooth and endless. I thought about the girl I used to be, the one who believed love meant giving until you vanished. The one who mistook silence for peace and boundaries for cruelty. She was gone now. In her place stood a woman who knew that kindness without limits becomes self-destruction, and that no is sometimes the most loving word you can say. I closed my eyes and let the breeze wash over me. Somewhere in the distance, a loon cried across the lake, lonely, beautiful, and free. For a moment, I whispered to the water, as if it could carry my words across time and pain. "I forgive you, Madison. And I forgive myself too." The lake stayed still, like it was listening. Then the wind picked up, rustling the lavender, shaking the porch wind chime into a low, melodic sound, my favorite sound in the world. That night, I locked the door behind me, not out of fear, but out of choice. I lit a candle, poured myself a glass of wine, and let the house breathe in rhythm with me. For the first time in years, everything, the walls, the air, the water outside, felt exactly as it should be. Still, safe. Mine.